A team is not set up for success from day one. In fact, typically, teams go through 4 stages until they reach a stage where they have high morale and can deliver high performance. It's important for the leader to understand those stages to be able to facilitate the movement through them as quickly as possible to take the team to the desired state of high performance, and also to be prepared to deal with the challenges at each stage. So let's go through those stages and see what to expect. The first stage is forming. At this stage, the company or this particular team has just started. For example, when you hire for a new store and this team is coming together for the first time. This stage is characterized by caution and anxiety, where people are still developing trust in the organization and in each other, and testing the waters to know what's accepted and what is not. Interactions between the team members at this stage tend to be very rare, and most of the interactions are between the different team members and the leader of the team. The major issue at this stage is building trust. So the leader can facilitate the movement through this stage through clear communication with the team, explaining what is expected from them and the goals of the team in general. Also, being there to answer any questions if raised. At this stage, the leader also needs to facilitate and encourage interactions between the different team members. For example, by giving them assignments and asking them to work in small groups, or by holding group meetings and encouraging them to talk to one another or collaborate on a single project. The next stage is storming. The main issue at this stage is conflict. Although by now the knowledge and skills of the team are starting to develop, conflicts start to arise as people start resisting certain tasks or the entire structure of the group. This is where they start to learn how to deal with each other and accept their different styles, so they can be able to work together on the common goals of the team. As members start getting comfortable expressing themselves, unlike in stage 1, you start hearing about their concerns and frustrations. The leader's main job here is to prevent or solve conflicts by listening to all parties and acknowledging conflict as an opportunity for development. It's also important here to stay focused on the goal and not get distracted or allowing the team to get distracted by the conflicts. When people get into a conflict, there are 5 possible outcomes, based on the degree of assertiveness and the degree of cooperativeness of each party in the conflict. Degree of assertiveness simply means the extent to which someone gets what they want out of this situation. Degree of cooperativeness is the opposite, how much they are willing to give up to solve the conflict. So based on that, we have 5 outcomes. Avoidance. This is where people deny that there is a conflict in the first place and don't try to resolve it. Accommodation. This is where one party accommodates the other's desires and giving up on what they wanted. On the other extreme is domination, when someone have it their way. Compromise, when each part gives up some of their requests. And collaboration, when each one gets what they want as much as possible. Now, each of those 5 outcomes creates either a win-lose, lose-lose, or win-win dynamic. For example, avoidance is a lose-lose. Domination is a win-lose. The problem with any dynamic that has a losing party is that this will affect the entire team dynamic in the future, because the losing party will hold a grudge against the other one, or even the leader for allowing for such an outcome. And so this comes at the expense of trust and goodwill. The goal is to reach a win-win situation for everyone, and this comes only through collaboration, where the different parties reconcile their differences and reach a mutually beneficial agreement that satisfies the desires of both parties. So a leader should steer the resolution towards collaboration instead of, for example, asking someone to accommodate the other, or allow someone to dominate the situation, or even ask for a compromise while collaboration is possible. If the leader succeeds in moving the group through this stage of storming, they are now in the stage of norming. This is when the norms of the group start to develop, whether explicitly or implicitly. People start getting used to how things are done and develop ways to work together and solve their own conflicts. They also start enjoying their meetings and working on common tasks, and this is why their productivity starts to increase, preparing them for the next stage of high morale, high performance. At this stage, the leader should facilitate the development of the norms by modeling cooperative behaviors and listening skills, as well as setting an environment of trust and facilitating consensus. The last stage is performing. This is where people start shifting their focus from each other and their own conflicts to finally focus on the task at hand and on achieving the team goals. And as they start accomplishing targets, their morale starts to rise and they become even more connected and proud of belonging to the team. They also start to be less dependent on the leader, who at this stage takes a back seat and only focuses on giving feedback and recognizing good performance, while also being prepared to step in case of temporary setbacks. The leader becomes proud of her team and what they are accomplishing and starts promoting them within the organization and sharing their successes in order to keep the morale high. As we can see, the leader played a very important role in this process until he was able to take his team to the stage of peak performance by simultaneously holding the two strings of interpersonal relationships and task accomplishment, and moving the team in both areas through the different stages until they reach the performing stage. Looking back at the study from McKinsey that we quoted at the beginning, we find that the top reason for people quitting their jobs is lack of career development. While this study shows that development is important for the employee, companies and leaders understand that it's also important for the business on the long run. Companies that develop talent from within tend to attract and retain better talent and have lower attrition. That's why over the years the role of a leader has evolved to become more of a coach. And a lot of retail companies actually stress on the concept of coaching while hiring and training their managerial roles, especially store leaders. If we look at a coach of a sports team, we find that this person, while never participating in the game themselves, does everything to enable their people to win the game. He selects the right people to be in the team, put everyone in the position where they can be their best, develop their skills over time, and trains them on solving the problems they might face in the game, but he never enters the field and tries to do everything himself. Coaches achieve greatness in their own careers by developing others and getting them to deliver the results. But why do people quit when they are not being developed? Is it because of money? Let's see. A psychologist at University of Chicago spent some time studying artists who would spend hours and hours working on a piece of art with deep focus and concentration. They seem to be so immersed in and consumed by their project as if nothing else matters in this world. He realized that when someone is challenged with something they are really good at, they enter the state that he called flow, where they become fully absorbed in the flow of this process that they start losing their sense of time or the world around them. This happens when the right level of challenge meets the right level of someone's skills. When someone has a low level of skill and are faced by a high challenge, they get anxious and start having low self-esteem. On the other hand, when someone has high skills but are given low challenges, they get bored and become less creative because they are not being challenged enough to come up with new ideas and solutions. When you assign someone with low skills, low levels of challenges, you get apathy and a diminished work life. But when people start getting higher and higher challenges as they develop higher and higher skills, when every time the level of challenge is appropriate to the level of skill, this is when they enter the state of flow. This is when you get employees fully engaged in their jobs. They are not anxious, they are not bored. Instead, they are being developed and experience high fulfillment from their jobs. So a good leader knows how to identify the right skill level of their different team members and assign them the right level of challenges to keep them engaged in their work and develop them over time. A common mistake that managers do is to assign more and more tasks to the most efficient member on the team. You know, when you have this super employee who somehow does everything right and quick and gets the job done from the first attempt, what do? You keep relying on them and them alone to get everything done. The problem with this is that this person starts to become overworked and at some point starts resenting being a highly efficient person. In most cases, they are not even being compensated for all the extra work. Furthermore, other people on the team are underworked and unchallenged, so they start getting bored, or even worse, they start hating their colleague for getting all the work and attention. Instead, a good leader starts taking advantage of assignments as a method to develop people on his team. He starts giving the right level of assignments with the right level of challenge to different team members based on their skills. For example, in the Retail Operations Management course, we talked about areas of responsibilities within the store, the brand, capability, and talent. Within those areas, there are so many different tasks to be assigned and used as challenges for people to work on. For example, let's say that you have a challenge at your store in merchandise flow. Replenishment is not taking place appropriately, and one of the reasons is that the stockroom is a mess. You can create a project for stockroom redesign and overhaul, and assign this project to a junior team member, not a manager, but someone you identified as having the potential to develop into a supervisory role in the future, and ask other team members to join him on this task force. He will be considered the team leader for this particular project. Then you give them all a deadline to present their work. By assigning this task in that way, you can benefit in many different ways. You gave everyone on this team a challenge and a chance to show their skills. You gave the junior member a chance to show their leadership skills through this teamwork. You got the job done on time. You gained from the creativity of the team and all the different ideas they are going to come up with. Finally, you made work much more enjoyable for everyone on this team. You may even reward them after the task has been completed. You can repeat this process with different team members and tasks to give everyone a fair chance to show their skills. This was an example of an effective delegation. The 3 Ds of work state that for any given task, a leader could either do it, delegate it, or ditch it. An efficient leader uses delegation as a multiplier. That's to say, she will be able to achieve much more by effectively delegating the tasks that can be done by others and only doing the tasks that are absolutely necessary to be done by her. Tasks that are unnecessary will be ditched altogether. For example, if you receive a spammy promotional email, you just delete it and move on. You don't need to respond to it. Here are some best practices for effective delegation. Share power. Do not be afraid to share your power with people by delegating your authority to others without the fear of losing control. Know your people. As we said, give tasks and challenges that are appropriate to someone's skills and capabilities. Do not delegate the bad tasks only. Remember that this is an opportunity to develop your people and creating win-win situations where they benefit from the delegated tasks and you benefit from the multiplier effect. Delegate fairly. As we said, do not depend on one person or few people only. Communicate clearly. Give people clear communication on what is expected from them and when to deliver the task. And always be there to support them if they have any questions. Delegate whole tasks. As we have seen with the previous example, when you delegate a whole project, you give people the chance to take full accountability of the task and also be proud of their work. Accept styles of work that are different from yours. The main idea is to get the job done, and people don't need to do this exactly the way you would do it. Actually, maybe they can do it better. If you have outlined clear expectations of the deliverables, then leave the details to them so that they can get creative and develop. Request progress updates. One of the ways to track progress is to get your team to update you on specific dates on how far they have come. And finally, follow up. One of the reasons people fail at delegation is that they assign the task and assume that just by assigning it, it will be done. Then they get a store visit from a senior manager and only find out then that the task was never done. So follow-up is an integral part of successful delegation. Assigning tasks and the use of delegation will not only allow you to keep your people engaged, but will uncover the next layer of leadership within your organization. The next assistant store managers, district managers, and so on. When those people show the right skills and achievements through the regularly assigned and delegated tasks, they can then be taken to the next step in their career development, a more formal process that is designed to prepare them for the next role. In the next few lessons, we are going to talk about managing the performance of others as well as managing your own performance as a leader.